Hello, 6th through 8th grade teachers. Hope you're all doing well. I just finished putting together um, something that I think will be very useful. I've kind of shared with you guys before what these are, but I've made some adjustments to make them easier for you to apply them digitally or in paper form. So I do want to show everybody this video. This will be useful for you, and I'll try to keep it brief. But let me share my screen, and I'm talking about the performance assessments. I've been talking to you guys about those as I've been getting those ready. So those can be found here on your curriculum maps. When you scroll down at the bottom of the scope and sequence, you'll see all the performance assessments listed down here at the bottom. These are also integrated into the curriculum map. So if you don't use this much for planning, you'll still see them as you go through a concept at the very end. I'll list out the performance assessments there as well. So they're found in both places, but I like them being here on the scope and sequence because if you're an 8th grade teacher and you want to go find a standard that's over in the 6th or 7th grade for map prep, they're all easily accessible. Every single one of our standards has at least one performance assessment. Some have multiple. And then we also have these unit performance assessment, which are the same style, but they cover multiple standards. So you have a lot of options here for you. Before we actually dive into the actual performance assessment and the tweaks that I made, I do want to show you where do you find these on Discovery Ed in case you want to do just assign it through Discovery Ed, or if you want the Spanish version. So I'm going to show you that real quickly. What you'll want to do is get to Discovery Ed. You can just click on, I'm going to be showing you guys how Earth's magnetic field affects the compass. This is in 8th grade. So I'm going to jump to the Discovery Ed link for that concept. I already got that pulled up. So to find where most of the performance assessments are, anytime that you're in a concept, just jump to the Evaluate tab. And then you just have to scroll down. You have your summative there. There's the practice. That's the summative. That's the practice. And then if you scroll further, here are the performance assessments. So this one has two, how the maglev train works and the Earth's magnetic field. The teacher guides are there. You don't have to come here for those. Those are linked below. So when you come to these, this gives me my performance assessment, and the blue underneath is the teacher's guide. So good for you to know. It's both there, but just in case you need to find where that's at. And here's the Spanish versions if you need the access to those. Now the unit assessments, those are a little bit different, but if you jump up to your navigation bar up here and just click on the title of your unit, and this one is Moving Planets, that'll take you to the unit planning page where you can kind of jump around what's the anchor phenomenon and all that sort of stuff. But up at the top, it has a unit assessment and resources. Just click on that, and this is where those unit assessments are and teacher's guide. But again, these things cover multiple standards, but it's on one topic, so it's kind of interesting use, a little bit longer. Pretty much every single one of these has some constructed response questions in them. We'll see that here in just a second, as well as other question types. So I'm going to jump into this one. It'll look similar to pretty much all the other performance assessments. And I'm going to change my view on this from editing to viewing. So that way it looks just like how you would when you open it up. Because I'm going to show you a couple things and then a couple instructions on how to adapt this from a digital to a physical. Because there's one thing that you'll have to do for most of these to make that switch, but I made it as easy as possible for you guys. So if you haven't seen these are really nice. They have a lot of text, questions. There's the videos, and I blend those in by having a link to click on if a student's doing digital, or a QR code. If you printed it out, they can scan it. They can do this at home, theoretically. So different tasks. So here would be an example where there's a task where students are to describe the data and all that stuff. So they need to have a constructed response to fill in this space. I try to make sure that there's just plenty of space. I'm not expecting students to fill all of this out, but if a student or you is wondering, well, what exactly do I need to fill out here? I have now integrated the graded rubric for every constructed response question. So students can just click on this, and let's say you're doing this in class, you could have this up on the board. You can now print these out and have them attached so the students know exactly, hey, if I want to get full points, I need to make sure I have a claim, my evidence, my reasoning, And for each one, if I want the full 2 points, this is how I do it. So these are easily accessible for students if it's digital, and easily accessible for you to print off or show, depending on if you're doing it on paper. So that's going to be a helpful tool for everybody. You also have access to this rubric and a similar one, as well as student example responses in the, I'll go ahead and show you in the teacher's answer key. So when you come here, it shows you what's the standard, a little breakdown, all the different engineering practices, what's going on for each task. So task 2 was the constructed response. So here's an example of some sample responses from students for each level. And then here is a teacher kind of facing rubric and then a student facing rubric. I did pick a nicer looking rubric to link on all of those, but this would be the exact same thing for you as a teacher. This is also where you find all of the correct answers. Sometimes I notice they got the answers wrong. So if you feel like the answer key is off, you make the best judgment there. All right. So that's just like quality of life thing that I put in. This isn't every single one. So hopefully that makes things a lot better. The other thing that I want to do based off feedback from teachers who are using this was there's a lot of drop-down style questions, which is nice because it kind of allows you to do these types of questions, which would be something they could see on the map. But once you do like a printout, if I were to print this out, now I just have all these little boxes that say choose, and students can't see the answers. And so it would be inconvenient. Let me switch it over to my view so you can see what I did, and then I'll show you steps that you can easily convert this from a digital to physical. If I switch over to editing, you'll notice now that I've made these suggestions. So everything in here in green is a suggested change to delete this choose box and instead replace it with the text options that match up with this. And so if I were to go through and checkbox all of these yes, then I would get this text here. If I would checkbox X, then I would get to keep the drop down. So now you guys will be able to choose easily just by clicking checks or X's. Do I want digital or do I want a physical? Now, when you guys are viewing this, you are in viewing only. And so the way that you can get to those suggestions, because you won't have that option to switch, is if you go up to File, make a copy, a little text box is going to pop up. Just make sure that you check box this copy comments and suggestions. You don't need to worry about share it with the same people. I'm going to uncheck it for this. But now this will keep those suggestions, even though you can't see them right now, in my copy. And you want to make a copy of these anyways, just so that way you don't accidentally assign students my copy. I will not enable access for people to edit those. So you want to make copies anyways. Just make sure you check that box that says carry over the suggested comments. So now when your copy pops up, of course, you can rename it. We go back down to that question. You now have all of these options available to you. So now I say, I want to print this out. I can just go through and I can check box 1, 2, 3, 4. And now if I were to print it out, students can see, oh, now I have to choose between magnetic north, geographic North Pole, magnetic south, Canada. Those are my options. I need to pick for that. So now I've converted it to work in a printout version. Let's go back 4. I should have done it. Okay, but if I want to keep it as a digital, I can just click those X's, make those go away. And there you go. Now I'm back to the drop-down choose, just how it was. So now you have that easy flexibility for jumping between digital and text. You're not going to see it with this one, but when these type of questions are in the middle of this, having those things in might change the spacing of things. So you might need to do a little bit of tweaking, like get rid of a space here to make room or add more space to fill the gaps. I try to make it so it'll work easily with not too much editing, but just make sure it's all cleaned up once you've decided which one to do. As long as it looks nice, you're set to go. So hopefully that helps you guys be able to use this either way. Give me some feedback on what you guys think or any improvements. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I'll catch you in the next video.